Well, welcome to Go for Lunch number 88, the magic 88. I'm not sure what's magic about 88, but certainly sounds good. So, today we are going to talk about the Consumer Electronics Show 2022, which was themed Beyond the Everyday. However, funny thing happened on the way to the play, or whatever that expression is. But first, a public service announcement. So, we are big on not updating and being on the bleeding edge of technology. So I wanted to let you know where you should be and what you should be waiting to do. So unless you have a new machine that came with Monterey, you want to wait until Monterey macOS 12.3 is available. So that's the one we think will be stable enough to get started, and there's no requirement that you do that, get 12.3, but that's just if you want to jump in, if you read about a feature that you'd like to take advantage of, then that would be the time. But you don't have to. However, in the meantime, there are other upgrades coming along, and Apple kind of hides this from us. You see here, we're in the system preferences, and we're software update. And here's the Monterey update, which we do not want to do. But below that, it says other updates are available. And you click on this little blue More Info, and you get this window right here on the right. So here we find out that there's an update to Big Sur. And there's also an update to Safari. So if you're running Big Sur, then it's okay to do this update. If you're not running Big Sur, you may have another update here that for Catalina or for Monterey. So go ahead and check the more info. It's okay to do that upgrade. Okay? So again, 12.3 is what we're waiting for before we go to Monterey. So, hi, I'm Roger Harmon with GoFor Technology, where we make your technology work for you. If you're new here, please type new in the comments so we can get to know you and welcome you to our friendly community. So, Consumer Electronics Show 2022 finished up last week in beautiful Las Vegas. And it was a little different this year. Some of the major exhibitors didn't show up. They only had 40,000 attendees, which is about 1/3 of what they normally expect. But they did have 2,300 companies from across the world there represented, and that's 119 countries. So CES traditionally started out to be a way that retailers could talk to the manufacturers, see what they are planning on producing in the next year, and make their plans for what they were going to sell in their stores, and now, of course, online for the holiday season. So that was the original intent of CES. And that has not changed. That is still there. But it has become more and more a showcase for innovation. What's coming down the line? What are we working on in the pipeline that you may not see for 2, 3, 4, or more years? So that part of CES has expanded. So one of the big things that has been added to CES over the years is it has become an auto show. Vehicles are being introduced and demonstrated at CES, which was unheard of, maybe 6, 7 years ago. And one of the things that caught my eye was what they call the Autonomous Challenge. So this is a program, and this year they had university engineering students from 10 universities around the world, including Korea, Italy, I think Japan, and then several of the great engineering schools in the United States, like MIT, Georgia Tech, and a couple on the West Coast. So they had developed these race cars like Indianapolis race cars that are completely autonomous. There's no driver in them. There's nobody controlling them remotely. They just go out onto the Indianapolis Speedway and they figure it out themselves according to their human programming. So this program is a test bed for your future car. Now, some of us are getting to a point where we don't really want to drive at night, but there are places we want to go to at night. So autonomous vehicles could get us there and safely back without us having to worry about it because they can drive at night. So one of the astonishing things about this was that they were achieving speeds at up to 169 miles an hour. So let me just show you a quick little clip, and so you can get an idea what this was all about. Okay, so this was the finish.
Pretty quickly based on the telemetry,
and
what
here we go.
Toom wants to do. Polymove is right there in that window,
Okay,
right around 145 miles per hour. Toom starting to crank up the speed, accelerating to 160 now. 165 down the front straightaway. And Toom Autonomous Motorsport completes that challenge. We move to the next tier of 150 miles per hour.
It's interesting to see as that car came in to close down the pass, it almost see it almost overcorrect and trying to come back up the track. So it is starting to get to the speed where they are struggling a little bit to maintain some stability there. So this is
Toom maintains that 150 mile per hour speed. Polymove accelerating to the outside, 168 through the corners, nearly to 169. Now they crack 169, accelerating onto the front stretch, and a spin from Toom down to the infield and able to continue on. No damage to the car, but what does that mean for Toom? I think that is day done.
Yeah, they will not be able to pass.
So the champions from Indianapolis come up just short. We reached the 150 mile per hour barrier. Polymove blasted through it, and Toom did not. There is the elation in the Polymove pits. They are the champions of the Autonomous Challenge at CES.
Okay, so there you have it, and we will stop that audio. So pretty amazing. Obviously the interesting thing is that that car that spun out didn't know what to do apparently. So they need to do a little more work on the recovery from spin outs, I guess. But the technology that they're developing there on the racetrack is going to be implemented in the cars that we drive in our neighborhoods. So, forum, yes, thank you, Mary. And welcome, Chris and Bob, Leslie Ann. And so Leslie Ann would rather have a chauffeur. So that's exactly what we're going to be talking about here. And that is definitely something that's going to be happening. So in line with being chauffeured around town, one of the concepts, Apple is talking about this. Well, they're not talking about it, but people are reading between the lines that what Apple wants to do is not provide a car that you would go into a showroom and buy, but they want to provide a subscription service that you would take advantage of. So you would buy so many miles a month, and then when you needed a car, you would just go to your iPhone and tell it where and when, and the car would show up all by its lonesome, and you would drop in and tell it where you wanted to go, So it would run off to the supermarket and wait for you while you got your groceries, and you jump back in and it would safely take you home. So that's cars as a service. Now, here's what happened to me. This is what started this whole little rant. I was driving around town this week and I was overwhelmed by the number of large, shiny, empty pickup trucks that were on the road. So there were a lot of pickup trucks. And there was one that was like right beside me, and it just kind of took over my whole peripheral vision and a little more. It was so clean, and I just, it was so shiny. It was so new. It was so big, and it was so empty. So most of these are like the Rivian electric truck pictured here. They are crew cabs with a short bed and 2 rows of seating. And then here is the Chevrolet Silverado electric vehicle. So these certainly are being promoted as being safer. And in that vein, if you pardon the pun, a neighbor of mine where I used to live was a pediatric surgeon, and he had, I think, 3 kids. They all drove either a Suburban or a full-size Blazer or a full-size pickup truck because, of course, he saw the results of children that came in from a traffic accident. So he made sure that his kids were surrounded by as much steel as possible. So the reality is that we don't need pickup trucks most of the time. And all we need is something to get around town, go on our little errands, pick up food, do all the little things that we do, go get our hair done, stuff like that. But we do want to pick out our own produce. Now, in this case, produce could be a wider gamut than just fruits and vegetables. It could be picking up the right wood at your Lowe's or Home Depot. It could be, where you want to make the decision of what you end up with. You don't want to entrust that with somebody else that may not be as particular as you are. So you need to be there. The other reality here is that we love our cars. We love our cars. Our cars are our cars. We want our car. But that is a model that is beginning harder and harder to justify because of all the congestion, because of all the pollution, because of parking issues, especially if you're dealing with a dense urban environment, downtown area. A lot of us don't like to go downtown because it's a pain to park. But if we could have a car that would take us downtown and take advantage of the things that are downtown, like the many, many restaurants, then that would be a no-brainer. We would just hop into that car, go downtown when we're getting ready to leave, call in a car, and it would take us home. Wouldn't that be nice? So we have this syndrome. We have the syndrome is I want to go where I want to go, and I want to go when I want to go. So we have to get over that. And autonomous cars that will deliver themselves will certainly solve that problem. So that's my little rant about cars. There's one more, there's many more aspects to this, but one other thing that's starting to become prevalent. Let's say we wanted to go to Centennial Hall, the university auditorium where there's many great concerts and plays and other performances. but we just go there with our car as a service. So the car picks us up at home and drops us off right in front of Centennial Hall and goes and hides somewhere, or actually goes and serves other people while we are enjoying the play. And then we tell the car, I'm ready to go home, and the car comes. Well, that does solve the problem of driving at night when you would prefer not to. However, it's going to require a different infrastructure. Now, as you can see here by this map, those are little tiny streets. You know, they're 2-lane streets, 1 lane each way. And Centennial Hall has a capacity of 2,500 people. So if you have anywhere close to that many people that are arriving, now arriving is probably not quite as critical because some people like to arrive early, and so that might not be too bad, but everybody wants to leave at the same time. So that's the problem. The congestion of having those 2,500 or less cars jockeying for position on all sides of Centennial Hall, which basically there's 2 sides. There's the north side and the south side, but it's going to take a while to get each one of those little individual cars. So, you know, obviously now what happens is we walk to different parking lots. So there's a parking structure over here that I usually park in, and you know, you can park in this area here and main gate square, or you could decide to go to dinner at one of the many fine restaurants on Main Gate. So there are some ways that you can mitigate that problem, but still it's a problem. So maybe there would be buses that would take you out to a regional pickup area. So maybe if you lived in Oro Valley, you would go to Oracle and Ina, and that way, and then your car, your autonomous vehicle would pick you up there and take you the last mile to your home. I don't know. So obviously there's no easy answers to all this, but it seems to be something that's happening. At the other end of the spectrum, we have vehicles as a service that deliver things to you. So here's a little autonomous ice chest, and you call for your takeout, and it rolls up from your neighborhood restaurant, and you have a code on your smartphone to unlock the lid, and you get your hot or cold food right out of there. So they're working on this thing from all sorts of angles. This type of service is also already in service on many college campuses around the country. Of course, college campuses have sidewalks that are nicely organized and easy to map out. So it's pretty easy to put it into a campus situation. Many of our neighborhoods don't have sidewalks. So that would be probably an area that these things would not be appearing on anytime soon. And of course, there's, you know, the rumored drone delivery, which seems to be like more of a pie in the sky idea. Sorry. So that's my rant. So next week, we're actually going to talk about what I thought we were going to talk about this week, and that is products at CES that have an effect on us as Apple users. And I should know this by now, but I should never try to do this extremely soon after CES is over, because I should wait for the analysis to come in and figure out which of these things are actually worthwhile. So we're going to give it a week to kind of settle out, and then we'll talk about that next week. So let's see. Susan says cars as a service is a great idea. So many people don't have garages. Very, very good. Yeah. So insurance is expensive and maintenance is expensive, you know. These newer cars, you know, it takes special equipment and specially trained mechanics to fix them. So you can't just take them to the shade tree mechanic down the street anymore. So, and then Leslie Ann says Uber and Lyft are too expensive for downtown and back, especially, yeah, if you live on the outskirts of town, that is not a great solution at the moment. And Leslie Ann adds that it would be like getting a taxi at the airport. You would have to just wait a bit. Very true. And Chris says, saw an autonomous delivery vehicle by the student union last Saturday. Yep, they have them here at the U of A campus already. So all those things are here. So what are your thoughts? Thank you for those of you that have contributed. I think that, I mean, there's a whole lot more to this. There's autonomous semi-trucks that are being tested right now. There's a company in Tucson that is developing autonomous semi-trucks. So all that is part of trying to solve the supply chain issues, trying to get the products off the container ships sitting off the coast of Long Beach, California. Part of the problem is once they get them unloaded, they don't have enough trucks to get them out of the harbor and off to the warehouses where they need to be distributed. So all this hopefully will come together safely and soon, and we'll kind of get back to normal. So that's what I have for you today. So I'm glad that you joined. And so good point here, Chris. What do I make of the empty pickups? Well, it's pretty simple. We like our trucks, and it's not just men. You know, I consciously look and see who's driving pickup trucks, and I see a lot of women driving pickup trucks, and sometimes they have kids in the car, but they never have anything in the back. So, you know, it is a safety thing, again, but we can make smaller cars that are just as safe. So it's just our love of cars, basically. And Mary says that it would help with drunk driving. Boy, that's the case. Yep, that would certainly help drunk driving. You know, you go to the bar, you have a good time, you have too much to drink, and you get something to drive you home, and everybody is better off. That would be great if people would do that. So hopefully that's what we're going to get up to. So if you haven't subscribed already, please subscribe to this YouTube channel. And remember that when you go to the YouTube channel, which you can find in the links in the GoFor Gazette, our newsletter that comes out at 7 o'clock every Monday morning, you can go directly to the channel, and there you can search within the channel just for the topics that we've covered in the past. I'm curious, how many people took advantage of our program last week, our little review to clean out their downloads folder? How many did that? Don't all raise your hands at once. Okay, there's still time. You can still clean out your downloads folder. You don't have to feel guilty. Just write it down on your calendar, make an appointment with yourself, and get rid of those downloads. Let us know next week how that worked out. So, have a great week. Glad you could join us, and we will see you next week. Of course, if you have any questions, you can call us or you can email us, and that information is right here. And Leslie Ann did. Good work, Leslie Ann.